Hey all, I just wanted to give you a heads up as to the relief that we're currently involved with in Malawi and Mozambique. As most of you know, Calvary Southbury is in the midst of a building project right now. We're getting ready to pull permit or to buy our permits like now. We're ready to break ground as soon as the banks give us an okay. But in the midst of preparing for the building, there is this temptation to kind of narrow our vision down and, kind of funnel all our time and our resources to the task at hand. And there's a lot of wisdom in that. There's no doubt about it. The problem is that God doesn't always allow us to dwell safely in our nice little neat boxes. He messes with them. And for us as a church, well, a cyclone hit Mozambique. It traveled up into Malawi, hit Zimbabwe as well. It was the worst cyclone to ever hit the southern hemisphere. We can't even calculate the amount of damage, but what we can calculate is the amount of people affected. There were well over 3 million people affected. There are over 800,000 displaced. And when we talk about being displaced, in a land like Malawi or Mozambique, we're talking about people leaving everything they know with just the shirts on their back or the clothes that they're wearing. I mean, literally, that's what they left with. The houses are swept away or collapsed. Their belongings were all gone. All their crops, their sustenance farmers, they're eating what they grow. All their crops have been swept away. So they made it to high ground with not even planning on like where's our next meal going to come from. That wasn't even a question to them. It was just to get to safety. And so there's 800,000 people like that right now in our region in Malawi, where our feeding center is. We have 18,000 people that have poured into that little village because there's high ground there, and they are sheltered in these old warehouse buildings. 18,000. There are 35 village chief headmen in that 18,000. So they represent well over 35 villages. That said, there's a lot of people in our little village. As I've been told, there is food coming in, but it's trickling in. Because what's happening is many of the aid organizations are working in the most populous areas for good reason. I mean, that's where the most people are. But when you get out into areas like where we are, there's very little help coming in. And so with this 18,000, we've assessed their need over there. We've helped supply some food there. But one of the main things that they need is a water source. And as a church, what we've done is we've raised funds to put in 2 wells, so deep wells, mechanical wells with pumps on the top for these 18,000. Because what happens in a time of flood is the water sources get contaminated because they're open wells. And so the toilets overflow and all the debris from the flood rushes into them, and you can't drink the water. Well, people have to because it's the only water there is, and people get sick, and then cholera comes behind it. And so right now, with the wells and how we could be praying as a church is we've got to pray that cholera will beat the cholera that's coming into the land. That's what we need to do. So we want to pray for the well diggers, that they'll do a good job and a fast job, that we'll have good water there, because sometimes you can hit these pockets of limestone water. But then as well, that we will beat the cholera, because cholera kills more people than floods do. Cholera can kill a person in a matter of hours. Most times it takes a couple of days, but it can in hours, and then it spreads very quickly. And so be praying. We also have done food relief as a church. There was a refugee encampment of Mozambicans that came into Malawi in our town as well. There were 750 families. We fed that entire refugee camp. They hadn't eaten by the time we got to them in 10 days. They were trying to eat these tubulars that grow along the river banks, which is our equivalent to trying to eat grass. It's not really edible. And so just an amazing thing, bringing food in, maize and some fish, and giving people the food. There's a lot of dancing and rejoicing for that. We gave them 10 kgs a piece, so it lasts them for quite a while. So Calvary Southbury, this is some of the stuff that we've been doing. So pray for those wells. They're going in right now as you're hearing this. And we're also supplying more food there as well. And pray for the people. We've got a lot of missionaries working among all these people there. So great job. We'll talk to you on Sunday. See you then.